All right, guys, welcome to week 22 of the NHL Power Rankings. Jaden's going to get us started with pick 32.
No change. Chicago.
Oh.
Woo! Big surprise. Um, yeah, no big plot divergence or reveal here. Look, they play 3 games, get 5-0 by Colorado. On a back-to-back, they beat Arizona 5-2. Then they go and lose to the Washington Capitals 4-1. They're playing better. I just you know haven't done enough through the season to really push out. But I feel like a couple of teams above are playing pretty poorly that they could maybe jump soon.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, it's getting late in the season. I can't see them pushing too far up, but they might get out of that bottom spot at some point. Um, Pick 31 for me stays also staying the same. San Jose Sharks.
Same thing.
Yeah, look, can yeah, you could almost consider it, but I think they've just been too poor. Look, they put on a reasonable week in terms of result, what it looks like. But again, they didn't look 15 shots against the Minnesota Wild in a 3-4 loss. So it looks good, but they only put up 15 shots. A 6-7 OT loss against Dallas Stars, 20 shots to 40. A 2-7 loss to the New York Islanders, and a 2-1 win against the Ottawa Senators. So, they get the 3 points on the week, but again, it just doesn't look pretty. It's not good. It's not great hockey. We all know that, and obviously with them moving on Hurdle, even though he is injured, it's not going to make them any better. They're gonna continue to struggle for a little bit, but that's all part of this big rebuild that they're gonna have to go on.
Alrighty, 30, the first change of the week. Ottawa Senators, team that's kind of fell apart. And look,
Yeah, you did it. You did it.
yeah,
Jeez.
look, they lose 2-1 to the Ducks on a back-to-back against LA, who were not on a back-to-back. They lose an OT 4-3. Then they lose 2-1 again, this time to San Jose. So two bottom end teams losing by a goal. Look, they might outplay them on the ice, but you got to outplay them on the scoreboard. And it's just something
Yeah.
that Ottawa just consistently doesn't do, or at least these past few seasons. So yeah, demoted for me. And honestly, if they continue this trend, because I think they are like 2-6-2 from memory. Yeah, they are 2-6-2 in the last 10. They could actually get to 31 and 32 at this rate.
Yeah, look, 100%, you're not wrong. They did outplay Anaheim and San Jose, but like you said, you have to get the results. And yeah, it's been Ottawa's season, that's for sure. Summed up right there. At 30, the team that did get the result against them, even though they got outplayed, the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, as we said, obviously, sorry, they had a 2-1 loss to the Vancouver Canucks to start the week. I should probably mention that first. And then the 2-1 win against the Ottawa Senators, but only putting up the 16 shots. And they were outplayed. And then a 2-6 loss against the Dallas Stars. So a pretty tough week, all things considered. Um, but they get 2 points out of it. They beat the Senators. They're just not playing very good hockey though. That's the big issue for me. They look ugly. They look very very ugly, and I know they beat the Senators, but they really shouldn't have.
They they
And
they
that
work
was
they look worse than an AHL team on defense.
yeah,
Just
and
the
that's what
the
held me back.
turnovers are horrendous.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
honestly, I like in my head I have them at 32 as well. But basically all these teams equal 32 in my head.
yeah. They're
So
playing dog shit all
mm,
four at the moment. That's for sure. All right.
already 28 for me. Moving up a bit, just Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, same here.
Not really based on themselves, based on the other teams just being that poor.
Yep.
They're playing all right. Beat Washington 5-2. Lose to Chicago 5-2. Lose to Wild 5-2. And then on a back-to-back, they beat Detroit 4-0, and Detroit were not on a back-to-back, so a good win there. I feel like they're playing more competitive every game, but there's still a lot to work on there. Keller's been amazing. He really just looks to carry that team, and but it's just not enough.
Yeah, disappointing end to their season, unfortunately, but still in that rebuild phase. All right, 27. I've got the Montreal Canadiens.
Yep.
Yeah, look, where is it? They get a 4-3 win against Nashville, which is huge because it's Nashville's only lost in their last 10 games. So massive win there. They have a 4-1 loss against the Carolina Hurricanes, but it's a tough ask, and a 3-2 loss against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So a very tough week in terms of schedule, but I feel like they performed reasonably well in all three of those games. So quite happy with their performance. But at this stage of the season, it's very hard to move a team like Montreal up too far. But that's all you're looking for from this team is just competitive hockey each and every night, whether or not they get the win or not.
Alrighty. For my 26, it is the Columbus Blue Jackets.
They are my 24.
Ooh. And look, they start off 6-3 win against Vegas. Back to back, they lose to the Pens 5-3. They beat Oilers 4-2, and then they lose by a goal to Nashville. So playing better, well, and getting the results that they probably should be getting at the start of the season, but beating the better teams and losing to the worst better teams in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, but look, that's why I promoted them. They played some pretty good hockey this week, and they have been looking uh, pretty reasonable as of late. So, a couple of teams below them, and I'll mention one of them now. The Pittsburgh Penguins at 26.
Yeah, they're my 25.
I know they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets, but honestly, they are looking ordinary. Very, very
Yeah.
ordinary. They lose 6-1 to the Edmonton Oilers. They get the win against the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-3. They lose 6-0 to the Washington Capitals, and they lose 5-1 to the Boston Bruins. So I get that's Oilers, Bruins, two hard teams, but they're not even competitive in those games. And it's really disappointing to see Crosby sort of this. That's probably it. Depends. Like this was their last shot.
I
I
mean, they
can't
got.
see.
I reckon they got one more shot next year.
I don't know, man. I
Oh,
don't know
you
where
can
they're
say
gonna
you don't
fall.
know, but like Philly's done what they've done, Nashville done what they've done, New
Oh,
Jersey, who should
100%.
be up there, are not up there. Like things
100%.
change, so I think they could do it next year, but obviously it's a tough ask, especially with how that team's salary cap sheet is looking. So
Oh, exactly. And they're just getting older. It's yeah. Look,
the problem is
it's
how
tough.
slow they are. That is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but moving on to, I guess it's my pick.
Yeah.
It is 24 for me, the New Jersey Devils. So
Yeah.
three Metro teams in a row, and this team, it's kind of basically the Metro version of Ottawa. They play good, in a sense, just don't get results. 5-1 loss against LA, 5-3 loss against Florida, 4-1 win against St. Louis, and then a 4-2 loss against Carolina. And look, they were very competitive in a lot of those games, like the Florida, Carolina, even the LA one. But they don't get the results. And look, they got a lot to work on, this team,
Mhm.
and I'll mention where they could fix later on. It's really in related to one-touch passing that I see one team doing and no other teams doing in the league, and I'll mention that when I get to that team. And I just think other teams need to start doing it, and this is one of those teams that needs to start doing it. So yeah,
Especially because they've got the skilled players to do it as well.
exactly. Like the
That's got to
skill-based
say.
teams that don't do it is a question mark to me.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, on to 23. I have the St. Louis Blues.
Oh, yeah, same here. We're pretty good run here. Like
They're just going through a bit of a blue patch, you could say. But
wow. All right. Well, that's enough
don't
from you.
don't shut me down.
No.
Um, I'll see myself out. That's it. I'm over. Catch you later, guys. All right, they start the week off with a 2-1 win, a shootout win against the Philadelphia Flyers. They lose 2-4 to the New York Islanders on a back-to-back. A 4-1 loss to the New Jersey Devils and a 4-0 loss to the New York Rangers. So they did not like or take it well against the Metro teams, picking up 2 points out of the total eight. So yeah, very rough week for St. Louis Blues, especially considering this is now their time to push, and they're slowly falling away from
Mm.
that wild card spot. So
I'll say
yeah, it's
one thing for this team that I noticed that they're doing poorly. It's not the one-touch passing; it's the containing the puck, like your first touch of the puck. This
mm,
team mishandles it, just especially watching that New Jersey game more than I've seen any other team.
yeah,
Even some of the bottom end teams, like they'll get a pass and the person who's getting the pass will fumble it. And
yeah,
I've noticed that's really big with St. Louis, and that's what's closing their space. If they
and
fix that, I feel like they'd be winning all the games because
yeah,
a
and
lot.
you lose that I know
Yeah,
it's only a split second, but
mm,
you lose that split second, and boom, all of a sudden it's going the other
yeah.
way. So
So I feel
yeah,
like it's a really small detail, but if they fixed it, I feel like they would be above high 500 team very consistently.
yeah,
22 for me, Buffalo Sabres.
yeah, same here.
And look, it's good to see, they climbed up for where they were in the earlier season. 5-2 loss to Winnipeg, only had the 19 shots. Go to OT and lose at OT against Toronto. Back to back, 4-2 loss against Nashville. And then a 3-2 shootout win against Edmonton. So all difficult games. What they get,
3 points, I
three
think.
points out of eight. It not great. They're still playing good, but difficult week. Hard to punish, but obviously they're out of the race, so it doesn't really matter either way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? If they turned around and picked up maybe 6 points this week, you could say that they're potentially still in it. But only getting the three this week, sort of, I think they're what 7 or 8 points out of the race now.
Mm,
So yeah, it definitely makes it hard. They can't have weeks where they're under 500. They need to be well above 500 at this
yeah,
point in the
well,
season if
they're
they want
only
to be
the
a shot.
flat 500 team in the league at the moment. 30 wins, 30 losses.
Yeah, well, it pretty much sums them up. All right, 21. I've got the Seattle Kraken.
Yes, same here.
Yeah, look, trying to do a bit of a late push. There's a few teams in the West that have decided to wake up a bit late in the season. They're one of them. They start the season off well against the Calgary Flames with a 4-2 win. They also get a 4-3 win against the Winnipeg Jets, and they lose 3-0 to the Winnipeg Jets. So 4 out of 6 points. Um, yeah, look, they're playing a lot better now than they were at the start of the season. That's for sure. But again, same as we're talking about Buffalo Sabres and a few other teams. Too little, too late. Unfortunately, they've just got to take this form that they're finding themselves in and roll it into next season. Make sure they don't start next season like they did this season.
All right, 20th for me, Washington Capitals.
Yeah, that's the same here.
Start off the week, 5-2 loss to Arizona. They go on 6-0, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then they beat Chicago 4-1. So 2 wins out of three. Don't really rate the wins in regards to the teams that they beat, so I couldn't really move them too much. And yeah, they don't move up for me just because teams below them have jumped them, even though like a team like St. Louis has gone below them. So yeah, they ended up where they were last week for me.
Yeah, that's fair. They've got a good last 10, but I'm not liking that either. 19 for me. I have the New York Islanders.
Yeah, this is my big one. They're at 16 for me.
You're real hot on these guys. I just
Woohoo!
I
Plus
can't
7.
I can't. Yeah, that's a big up. Don't get me wrong. They've been in some good form. I think they've won their last five or something like that. But I think they're also 5-5 or something along those lines.
No, they're 6-2
Um,
too.
6-2-2. Okay, maybe it was another team I was thinking. But yeah,
Yeah, that's Detroit.
uh, that's yeah. There you go. That's the one. St. Louis Blues 4-2 win. They get a 7-2 win against the San Jose Sharks, and that's it. That's all they played. So two relatively, shouldn't say easy teams. Sharks easy team. St. Louis slightly less, but they're on a bit of a slide at the moment. So
Yeah,
look, with the Flyers dropping off the way they are, the Islanders are probably that favorite team to sort of take over their spot, especially with the Devils and the Penguins pretty much bowing out. And I don't think the Capitals are good enough. So the Islanders are probably going to find themselves in a playoff spot, not because they're, in my opinion, a playoff team, but more because they're the best of a worst bunch,
Yeah.
basically.
Nah, I've gone big because I think they're back to their old form of like last season and the seasons beforehand, where they're playing that defensive game and
Yeah.
just back to that old form that they usually do. So I feel like the Islanders back. That's why I've gone big quick, and we'll see next week if they punish me or not. But I think they are, like you said, the favorite in that running race.
Yeah.
19 for me, Tampa Bay Lightning.
We see they're in my top 16.
Ooh. Yeah, this is the team, honestly, that I could see maybe even dropping out of the race. Maybe even before Philly. I feel like they got a lot of problems that they have to work on. They lose to Calgary 6-3, then they beat Philly 7-0. So they beat Philly. Um, so that's good. Only 2 games, hard to gauge much. That's why they don't move much for
Yeah.
me. But I am on the lower end of the spectrum,
hmm
just for how they're playing. So that's why they moved down one, and that's why Islanders have jumped them.
Yeah, look, they only moved up one for me because of the 7-0 win against Philly. If you could understand, Philly have now gone below them, which they'll find out soon. But yeah, I was the same. 2 games, I'm not completely sold on them, but at the same time, I'm not completely sold on any of these teams. Probably 13 and down.
Mm.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right, 18 for me. I have to double check this 'cause I think it is the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, that's where I have Philly.
Yeah, look, I think that we might be seeing the downfall of Philly now. Um, Look, they've proven us wrong to this point and stayed quite strong throughout the season, so they may come out of it. But I just feel like this is where you see them fall off and miss a playoff spot. So they lose to the St. Louis Blues in shootout 2-1. They beat the Florida Panthers 2-1, which was a massive win. Um, but then they get absolutely destroyed 7-0 to Tampa Bay Lightning. So 3 points out of six. They go 500. It's a really topsy turvy week for them. They get a massive win against probably the best team in the league right now, the Panthers, and then they get absolutely flogged by Tampa Bay, who
Mm.
we're talking about in the wild card race of who's going to make it. So yeah, I don't know at the moment, but I feel like the Flyers, the wheels are starting to come off.
Alrighty, 17 for me, the Minnesota Wild. Whoops.
Yeah, same here.
And yeah, it's interesting team this one. So they beat San Jose 4-3, beat Arizona 5-2. Then they on the back to back. Well, the other team is not on the back to beat Colorado. Lose to Colorado in OT. So really good week results. 5 out of 6 points. Getting the point from the Colorado game. A big thumbs up there. Hard to give too much credit just because of the other teams they played, and I feel like a little bit shaky in regards to how they have been playing. Their last 10, 5-4-1, and look, they're negative 12 in goal differential. They got a lot to climb. Pretty much have to go on like Edmonton run, and I don't
Yeah.
know with how they've been playing on the ice if they can pull that off.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I think yeah, they are an interesting team, and like the rest of them, they've left it too late. All right, 15 for me. I have the Edmonton Oilers. Sorry, the Edmonton Oilers, Vegas Golden
I
Knights.
was
Don't know.
like, whoa! All
I
right.
was I was looking at the Oilers on the screen. I'm just like, what am I saying? Vegas Golden Knights. Sorry. Yeah, no. I punished the Oilers. They lost 2 games this week. They're absolute dog shit. No. Vegas Golden Knights. I don't rate them at the moment. Look, I get it. They've just rigged the salary cap again. Um, so they're probably going to be ridiculously strong and potentially win another cup. At the moment, they look ordinary. 6-3 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets, a 3-1 loss to the Vancouver Canucks until they finally get a win 5-3 against the Detroit Red Wings. So, look, and the Red Wings, that was their fifth game in a row that they lost or something along those lines. So, yeah, the Golden Knights aren't great at the moment. 3-6-1, and honestly, I can't see them missing the playoffs. They're 8 points in it. It's going to be tough, but if the team was to miss out on it, the Golden Knights could be that team.
Alrighty, 15 for me. Calgary Flames.
Yeah, they stay at 13 for me.
And a little bit of a poorer week for them. 4-2 loss against Seattle, 6-3 win against Tampa, and then a 5-1 loss against Florida. So, only the 2 points. Probably should have at least got 4 out of the 6 this week. You probably count that Florida as an automatic loss. And it's not what they need for the run. I still think they're playing decent hockey on ice. It's really coming together. I really like Shara there. I feel like they got a lot of ex New Jersey Devils players there. I think they just picked up a Kudiak, whatever his name is, from San Jose as well. So it was ex New Jersey. So yeah, uh, it's a iffy 15 for me. I feel like they could slide pretty quickly, or they could jump really quickly.
Yeah. It all depends on their form. We've seen them win 5 in a row and lose 5 in a row. So, but I just think they're playing better than the Golden Knights in that at the moment, even though they're 8 points back. Um, Again, like I said about the Islanders, the Flames for me are probably the best of a bad bunch,
Mhm.
as well. Because I honestly, these from 13 down, I probably don't consider them as contenders, as even I don't think they're going to be anything. Golden Knights different because if Stone comes back, all their the acquisitions that they made, they probably will be, but I just don't think that the Flames would even contend if they do make it, um, nor anyone below them, and nor this next team that I'm about to speak about, the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, my 13.
Yeah, I have my question marks around them as well. I know they've shown some form, but I don't know. I'd have big question marks around them. They get a 5-1 win against the New Jersey Devils starts the week. They have a 2-1 OT loss against the Canucks. They have a 4-3 overtime win against the Ottawa Senators, and then they lose 4-1 against the Dallas Stars. So I think they get 5 from a possible 8 points. So it's a good week overall. Um, but yeah, again, I think they're obviously gonna make the playoffs. Most likely, it's very hard to see them getting kicked out. But whether or not they're gonna actually be competitive is a whole different ball game.
Alrighty, number 12 for me, sliding down, Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
And a big slide this one outside the top 10. They didn't win a game this week, so kind of warranted. Get 7-2'd by Colorado, 4-0'd by Arizona, and then on a back-to-back lose 5-3 to Vegas, as we just mentioned. Been on a slide for a while. I lost their last 5. They're 5-5 in the last 10. And yeah, like they're kind of in the Philly, New York Rangers ballpark in regards to points, even Tampa.
Mhm.
So that's how low they've slid. That they were 7-6 for us last week, but their points are almost level with our 18, 19s, and 20s. So
Yeah.
that's how far they're sliding.
Yeah, 100%. Like if they have another bad week, they're out of the wild card spot.
Mm.
Like it's that simple. I think what the Islanders win their 2 games in hand, and they're in front of Detroit. So yeah, they're very quickly going from a very exciting, you want them to be in the playoffs because of the way they're playing, to they may not make it at this point. I almost had them as a lock with the way they were playing, but this losing streak has put them right back in the mix of things. All right, number 11 for me, which seems really really strange, but the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
I think what they're second in the standings or something like that.
Yeah,
And they're
third now. But yeah,
third in the standings now. Yeah, but like look, they're 5-1-4 in their last 10. So that their form's not exactly all that great, but they do get a have a reasonable week. They get a 4-1 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They get a 2-1 overtime loss against the Edmonton Oilers on a back to back. They get another 4-1 win closing out and sweeping the series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, which I mean they do all the time anyway. And a 5-1 win against the Pittsburgh Penguins to finish it off. So a good week in terms of it. They got 7 out of 8 points. So having them at 11 does seem very strange, but I don't know. There's just something about the way they're playing that I don't quite rate at the moment. And I don't think they're quite their best. Um, but they're going to be in the playoffs. So at the moment, it really doesn't matter what they do until playoffs.
All right, starting the top 10. P10, I have the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Look, they slide down. Bit rough. Like they're 7-3 in the last 10. They go basically 500 this week. Starting off 5-2 win against the Sabres. They lose 3-4 to the Seattle. Beat Seattle 3-0, and then on the back-to-back they lose to Vancouver 5-0. So 500. It's you know, two losses they had, or at least one of the losses swept. They did sweep a team, and they only lost by a goal in the other one. So they're still playing good. They just moved down because pretty much everyone in this area, even Boston, just had amazing weeks, and
Mhm.
it basically was a point that you had to have a really good, amazing week to maintain your position or move up.
It was a nightmare week to pick the top 10, that's for sure. Um, but yeah. All right, on to number 9. I have the Nashville Predators.
Yes, that's where I've got Nashville as well.
Honestly, one of the best performing teams in the league at the moment, and they are very quickly solidifying that playoff spot, which I know you're very happy about because that was your big call at the start of the year that Nashville would be playing playoffs, and you're not wrong at this point.
I was wrong
They
on the Ottawa
start
one.
yeah, we definitely were about the Ottawa one. 3-4 overtime loss to the Montreal Canadiens, a 4-2 win against the Buffalo Sabres, and a 2-1 win against Columbus Blue Jackets. So, albeit a very weak uh, schedule, they do take 5 out of 6 points. So, yeah, almost perfect, and that's pretty much all you can ask for. And really, all they need to do in a week like that is take at least 5 out of 6. So, yeah, it was a good week.
All right, 8 Edmonton Oilers.
Same.
Just sliding down a bit. You know, McDavid has had some issues as of recently playing, but he 6-1 win against Pittsburgh. They win against Boston in OT because it's Boston that has to go to OT. They lose to Columbus, which is the big one this week, 4-2, and then they lose to shootout to Buffalo. So they get a point from that one. You kind of want from this team to not lose to Columbus and Buffalo. Like those are teams that you should be solidifying the wins there pretty easily, and it didn't happen. So that's why they slid for me. Is a little bit concerned with that. A little bit concerned with their top end performances as well. In regards to some of their players, I think of some of their defensemen as well, like Nurse and whatnot, are on like some goal droughts that will have to be ended soon as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, number 7 for me, I've got the Colorado Avalanche.
Uh, they are my 6.
Yeah, nice. Now, I did contemplate whether or not to move them up a bit, but again, like they're in some good form, but a little bit of a weaker schedule this week as well for them. They get a 5-0 win against the Chicago Blackhawks. They get a 7-2 win against the Detroit Red Wings and a 2-1 OT win against the Minnesota Wild. So they go 3 from 3, get 6 points. But like I said, a bit weaker of a draw. So you kind of expect them to get at least 5 or 6 points on a week like that. Um, and yeah, so they just did what they needed to do. They're another team that I think they just need to get to the playoffs. Doesn't matter who they play come playoffs. Doesn't matter what they do for the rest of the season. They can't get kicked out of playoffs basically.
Yeah,
So
and
now there's
what
just
other few teams that bolstered their team for the playoffs as well? Fixed a
exactly
lot of issues they had besides their goaltending. Um,
yeah.
on to 7, Toronto Maple Leafs. This team
Oh yeah,
I punished a bit.
you
And
punished glove slap.
yes. So they lose to Boston as as we've said before. They get an OT win against Buffalo, lose to Boston again. They were on a back-to-back, and then they beat Montreal by a goal, 3-2. So I wasn't fully convinced with their victories on the Buffalo and Montreal one, and the fact they can't beat Boston, it's not looking good for playoffs at
No,
all. So
especially because they're going to face them in the first round, most likely.
yeah, so I feel like this team's got a lot of concerns, especially in regards to that Boston issue. Yeah, so they slide a bit for me, especially when other teams have gotten stronger from the trade deadline as well. I feel like they've missed out on that bonus a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a lot of cap space to really do anything at the trade deadline, but yeah, you're not
I wonder who's that fault, or which four individuals is that fault. But yeah, no.
the four individuals that are making $11 million plus. Yeah, I mean, Willie, you can't blame Nylander just yet. He's not on 11 mil just yet, so we'll just calm down there. But yes, number 6, the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, they're my 5.
Yeah, look, it's weird to make them. They're very inconsistent,
Yep.
but they're just they're still having a fantastic season. So a weaker schedule again for these guys as well. They get a 7-6 OT win against the Sharks. Very lucky to sort of get away with points in that one. 6-2 win against the Anaheim Ducks and a 4-1 win against the Los Angeles Kings on a back-to-back. So 6 points from 6 points that they could get. You can't you can't make much more. I would have liked for them to not have had to go to, OT against the Sharks and to have been trailing like they were, but overall they got the points. They get out, pretty much perfect. So yeah, it's a tough one. I didn't like the week with how they played in that game, but overall they did what they've done all year, and that's pick up points.
All right, P4. New York Rangers not moving. Uh, Team that's playing well. They only had the 2 games this week, so
Yeah,
hard to gauge. They lose to Florida 4-2. It's against Florida, so you don't really weigh too much into that, and they were pretty
yeah,
competitive. And then St. Louis, they win 4-0. So they go 500. Obviously, only the 2 games. I mean, the kind of the results you would expect in a sense. So it's hard to move on that, and especially with how the other teams around them have been playing and moving as well.
yeah. No, that's exactly. They moved up for me because the Leafs moved down. Basically, they've been in some pretty good form. All right, number 4 for me, I've got the Vancouver Canucks finding a little bit of form after their slide.
Yeah, my number 3.
Yeah, look, it's good to see them bounce back. I think they've won their last 4 now, and they won all 4 this week. So, 2-1 win against the Anaheim Ducks to start it off, a 2-1 OT win against the Los Angeles Kings, 3-1 win against the Vegas Golden Knights, and a 5-0 drubbing against the Winnipeg Jets. So yeah, look, 8 from 8 points this week. Other than the Ducks being the easier game, they played 3, relatively good teams. 3 teams that are probably going to be in the playoffs. With the Knights and Kings being a maybe, the Jets obviously a lock. Um, but yeah, the other good thing is they only conceded 3 goals for the week.
Yeah, I was going to
So
say that they didn't concede over more than one goal in a game. So
exactly. So their defense was on lock again. Yeah, I love the bounce back, and it's going to be fantastic seeing this team in the playoffs. That's for sure.
all right. So number 2 to see if I have a new number 1, and I do not. So it's the Carolina Hurricanes at number 2,
I'd be
and
very surprised if you did.
I wouldn't be because I feel like this team is close, if not the best in the league at the moment. Only the
Hmm.
2 games though. They beat Montreal 4-1, and then beat New Jersey 4-2. But this is the team that I mentioned way earlier in the video that they're doing that one-touch passing that pretty much no other teams are doing. Um, and it's probably why they're so deadly at the moment. They bolstered their team in the trade deadline, and yeah, I just don't understand why skill-based teams aren't doing one-touch passing like this team does because it looks deadly. It's one of the reasons they beat New Jersey. And yeah, Aho is just insane. The whole team's insane, but yeah, I feel like they're more
Yeah,
threatening at the moment. And it was really close because I'm really loving how they're playing, but I couldn't. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, look, I think they're looking fantastic, and getting Kuznetsov from Washington is a huge addition, because that man at his best just absolutely bolsters the Carolina Hurricanes forward pack. So yeah, it's going to be absolutely wild. And I tell you what, I really hope Florida and Carolina meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, because I think that game, that series, especially after the 4-0 sweep last season, I think that series will be absolutely mind blowing, because I don't think
It'll
the
be better
Canes.
than the Stanley Cup final. That will be the
Yeah,
Stanley Cup final, in my
a
opinion.
100%. Look, I thought the 4-0 sweep was actually really really fun to watch, because it was actually a great series. It just ended up being a sweep, but I think this time Canes are going to come out really firing. It wouldn't be a sweep. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw 4-2, 4-3, and who knows who would win that, because they're both absolutely fire at the moment. Um,
All right, we'll
and
fill
well, I
out
mean, guess what? We
position
may as
number one.
well. I was going to say the other team we're talking about in that, the Florida Panthers. Like, yeah, look, they're the two best teams in the league. I mean, what can you say? I think the Panthers have been insane for a while, and the Canes have found their form. So the Panthers week, they win 4-2 against the Rangers, 5-3 against the Devils, lose 2-1 to the Philadelphia Flyers, and win one against Calgary Flames. So other than the loss to the Flyers, which was a real tight game, almost perfect again. So yeah, look, they just continue to be the best team in the league. Probably with Carolina as a close second. But yeah, it's going to be dangerous, and I really hope that these two teams meet at some stage in the playoffs, because that series is going to be just an absolute cracker.
Um, yeah, I feel like if they do, they probably won't win the cup because they'll probably batter and bruise each other too much during that series.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's our power rankings. Let us know in the comments below. What do you think of our power rankings? Yeah, comment below what your power rankings are, and we'll compare. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more content. And I guess until next time, we'll catch you guys.
See you later, guys.